Big screen ads without big screen headaches. Roku Ads Manager is a self-service CTV platform that helps advertisers drive outcomes across the funnel. Start today at advertising.roku.com/limited supply. All right, welcome back to another episode of Limited Supply. My name is Nick. As usual, I'm your host for today and really every episode. But, last week we had a fun episode. We went super tactical, got a lot of good feedback on last week's episode, really diving into websites. And, we were supposed to go through 8 different websites. We only got through 3 because there was just so many things to pull apart or talk about or discuss on those 3 websites. So if you didn't get a chance to look at those, we went through a couple of websites. Let me check my notes and see which ones they were. I believe it was Siren, which is Sydney Sweeney's new brand, Parachute Home, Gray Matter, and Sniff. And then today I've got a few other sites I want to go through along with 2 brands. One has 2 million page views a month, according to SimilarWeb, and one has about 1 million. I want to go through those 2 and just talk about their funnels, their upsells. These are both, one is like a supplement brand selling women's supplements. One is a device, kind of like a medical device that helps you get, more calm, more sleep. It's basically a nerve stimulator. And they're interesting because they run these very unique funnels where, it seems like they're driving a bunch of traffic, both from Facebook, but also from native channels, Taboola, Outbrain, ZergNet, et cetera, where they kind of find older demographic of people to click things and usually lead them in with clickbait. So I'm always fascinated by those types of brands, specifically because I think they do usually the best job of getting people toward checkout, mainly because they're dealing with usually an older demographic. So they just make things easier to understand, easier to read. Like even iconography wise on their website, their icons tell better visual stories than the icon of like a fancy new direct to consumer website. So I want to finish with those at the end. So regardless of how many sites we get through before we get to that, I'm going to make sure we have time at the end to go through that. So without further ado, let's get into today's episode. I want to start with the Absorption Company as kind of the first website. And the reason I chose the Absorption Company is, I'm not sure if you've heard of this company before. This is, I believe his name is Ian Somerhalder. He's a famous actor. I didn't know who he was before this company, but I don't know many actors and actresses. I'm mostly a music guy. So I came across this brand, back pre-launch when Zeke and his partner were putting this thing together. And it's been amazing to kind of see the evolution. The brand itself is doing super well. I've seen it pop up in retail quite a bit. Even on direct to consumer, it looks like they're pulling about 100,000 page views a month. So it's not like it's a small brand by any means. And they've done a really good job both on the branding and kind of brand marketing side of this business. Like if you go to their website, their packaging is beautiful and consistent. The packaging does a really good job kind of separating itself within the brand based on what it does or what the product is. And then also standing out on the shelf, the packaging is really easy to read. You can immediately tell just from looking at it, it's a really nicely branded brand. And when you go to their website, you kind of see the same thing, right? Whether it's the sizing of how everything is done in relation to one another. So the headline 1 to maybe the headline 3 to the CTA to the body text to the call outs on the labels on product overlays. Everything is beautifully sized. What's also interesting is on the homepage, they've got the front row MD, which I talked about last week on a couple of sites, I believe on the Gray Matter site. But they've got that front row MD right up front. Again, front row is one of those things. By the way, if you want an intro to front row and like a deal on it, you can DM me. I'm happy to connect you. A lot of my brands use it, so I have a good relationship with them and both Light Labs. But you get the Sharma discount to start, and then you get a couple of these doctors on board. You really don't even pay for front row until you start using it with doctors who've already approved it. So there's really no risk to it. But you go down on their website. So first you've got the hero up top, which I love. I think they did a really nice job with the hero. They've got the image at the top half and text at the bottom half. You can kind of go either way. We looked at the Parachute site last week, which basically combines both of those. So you've got text overlay over the video or the image on the home screen, or the homepage. But here they've got it kind of separate, which I'm not opposed to. And if you look at the desktop version of it, you can see it's basically a side-by-side kind of split hero, which I am a fan of for desktop sites. So then you scroll down, you've got immediate social proof. I would probably add a couple of like customer testimonials somewhere here, or speak maybe to, they do have 4.97, 30,000 plus reviews, which I think is really strong. It is a bit hidden, so I would maybe call that out a little bit louder, maybe even add a quote that speaks to, the absorption of the actual supplements, mainly because they've got the whole company is about the absorption, right? So their whole claim is like, we use different technology that allows your body to absorb these supplements better. So I would probably put some sort of social proof that speaks to the absorption before I get to the actual product carousel here. So then you scroll down a little bit, you've got our supplements. You can toggle between stacks, powders, and capsules, which is cool. Stacks is essentially bundles, which I might change just because I think if you're in the health world, you understand peptides, for example, you've seen that word stack. Or maybe you're deep in the supplement world, you've seen that word stack, but the average person maybe has not seen that, but maybe they saw this brand at Erewhon and now they want to come back online and check it out. So I always think about catering towards the person who's got really no experience, no understanding, no chops of the brand itself, but is, looking to become a customer. So that's the only thing I would change there. I do really like this problem solution module. I thought this was really interesting. And not only is it just a regular problem solution module, but they kind of very visually explain. So like they've got this image where the water is being poured outside of the cup and it's spilling on the table, right? And then the text below it is, most supplements are not designed for your body to absorb them. What an amazing photo to juxtapose next to that section. And then what I also like is their kind of like problem solution framing brings numbers in. So it reads 77% of Americans take supplements, yet over 90% remain deficient in key nutrients. Effort doesn't equal outcome. Your body never benefits. Your potential goes to waste. So what's cool is, and then in the next part under the solution, it says we create comprehensive supplements with up to 8x more absorption, providing solutions you can actually feel. Now, the key language or the key wording there is up to. That means that one of the products is tested up to 8x. And then, they basically have that messaging to use. If you scroll down, though, you do get a module for the essential stack, which talks about up to 5x more absorption. Is probably just an overlook there, or maybe it's that specific stack doesn't have the product that has the 8x. So here they can only talk about the 5x, which, I'm not a huge fan of that, like the language that, what's the right word? Contradicts itself within, section over section. I'm also a fan of that kind of push-pull section mentality. So I do think this does follow the push-pull, although between the problem solution and the essential stack, there's another shop by goal, which in my opinion is a pull, right? You're getting somebody to click a goal to shop by. But anyways, I think overall it's pretty nice. They also did a really nice job creating a nice little homepage feature section below that essential stack, where they talk about the clinician's choice reviews, and specifically speaking to the bioavailability and the absorption of these specific supplements, which I think, that's what I was talking about doing earlier. What else is cool is, actually that's pretty much the end of the homepage. So now let's go over to the shop page. So what's cool is when you click between, this is just one of those, I just want to call this out because everybody always likes to ask, well, how do you build brand? Right? And two things come to mind right as I click to the collections page. One was there was a mini loading screen in between going from the home page to the collections page. And I believe if you go to, let's see, I'm just pulling it up right now, but if you go to Parachute Home's website as well, they also have a loading screen in between. But loading screens, they just basically show you that, or actually, even if you go to sharmabrands.com, we've got a little loading screen that shows you 0 to 100, which basically all this does is as the site loads in the back, this loads first and just gives you 2 to 3, like maybe 1 or 2 seconds of entertainment as the site loads in the back, depending on the internet connection you have. It's always a good thing just because either one, it looks cool, it looks branded, it looks unique. It's not something that's normal to a Shopify templated website. So people see that and immediately think, oh, wow, that's nice and on brand, or that's, premium, elevated, etc. And then the second thing is if you've got slower internet, which, it's not on you unless your site is built to be slow because your images are big, you have a bunch of extra code that loads on your page, yada, yada, yada. if your site is fast, but then your consumer is on a slow connection, either because they have an older iPhone or they're just on bad Wi-Fi or they're just like in the car, on the highway somewhere underneath a bridge, then having that, well, hopefully they're not on their phone and shopping on your site, but you get the point I'm trying to make. Having this little 2-second delay that is still entertaining, has animation or motion, etc., does a nice job kind of breaking that apart. The next thing is, as soon as I got here, they had these icons that were side scrolling on a marquee right below their headline and subtext, which is another thing to look at because most collections pages don't include H1 and H2 or some subheading text. And it's actually a huge unlock from an SEO standpoint to just do that. So one thing I learned from Dylan Ander, who we had on a couple weeks ago, who does a lot of SEO stuff just for, 10 plus years, is he's like, yo, if you just make sure that you have H1 and subheading and it's actually properly coded as H1 and subheading, and then you have blogs on your website that have backlinks to your collections pages, and you have other links across the internet that have backlink to the collections page, you can actually help your page rank quite a bit just by adding H1 and subheading text to the top. Most collections pages just say the name of the collection at the top, and then and it's usually not coded in H1 or H2 or anything like that. It's just a large font size, and then they've got all the products below. But they don't tend to add like a product description. They don't add tags to the product. They don't add collection titles with collection subheadings to kind of explain what that collection is. And these are and of course the way that Absorption Company does their icons here is also nice. But these are all things that, one, they build brand, right? Everybody wants to know, how do you build brand? Well, it's a thing. Building brand is a culmination of 100,000 things done at a very small level, like doing things 1% better over time, every day, all the time, in every channel, at every touch point. That's how you build brand. And one of those things is like these icons here. Second thing is just making sure that you've got proper descriptions. So now getting back into this, I love that they've got the call outs of the discounts, they've got the ratings call outs and the reviews call outs. What would I do here? I'd probably add a little bit of social proof within the page. Like, I still think collections pages are landing pages to some degree. And so you want to make it educational as well as, easy to shop. What I did like is on the desktop side, so it's laid out in a nice way. But when you go down, I guess this is also on mobile, but it's just stretched out. But they've got this free gift with subscriptions call out. So you get premium gifts, $55 value on all subscriptions over 50. That's nice. There's no click here to go to like a specific lander or collections page that's just focused on subscription either, which is something I do recommend doing. I used to do this at Hint, where you would have a subscription focused landing page or subscription focused collections landing page, where you can immediately start building your subscription. Everything that you add to cart automatically goes as a subscription, 30-day default versus one time. So if you're in a hurry and just adding things, which is very common, by the way, for brands that have multiple SKUs, flavors, vitamins or whatever it is. If you're one of those brands that does have that kind of high activity of just add to cart, go to cart, and checkout from a collections page, then you want to make sure you're optimizing that journey as much as possible, knowing that it's skipping the product page itself. I also like that they've got the FAQs at the bottom. I'm a huge fan of that. I think the one or two things I'd probably add, social proof throughout the collections. So, there's 4 product units kind of across in the rows. And so I would maybe take one of those 4 and turn that into like a poster or a call to action, or direct people to what the, best product purchase or best bundle purchase is for a net new customer coming right out the gate. And just try to like help them, make that purchase, understand what they're buying, et cetera. I think one of the other things in supplements that I noticed from the best supplement brands is they do a really good job making it very clear up front what to expect for the next 90 days. So we saw this with Gray Matter. We've seen this with Lemmy. We've seen this with IM8. We've seen this with a lot of the supplement brands we've talked about here. is that they'll tell you, hey, within your first 48 hours, this is what you're going to feel. Within your first 7 days, this is what you're going to notice. Your first 14, 21, 30 days, this is what you're going to notice. So the idea is twofold. One, it's that you kind of tell the consumer like, hey, this isn't going to be like maybe like an Adderall where you take it and you immediately feel it, right? Like that's one of the things that people generally look for in anything, whether it's a cocktail or, a capsule or a pill, is you want to feel something right away, which is why I think gray matter works so well, because you feel that kind of caffeine hit right away. But it also does a thing where it helps prolong the subscription from the brand. So if it's expected that, this thing takes, call it 4 to 6 weeks to really dial in your body, for your body to feel like week over week, you've got enough of that supplementation for whatever that vitamin is in your body to feel it, then having that 8-week timeline on your PDP or in your consumer journey as somebody is making that purchase is going to be super helpful for them to understand what to expect when. So it's not like, hey, within 2 weeks, oh, I don't feel this, let me stop taking this. No, they know that, it's going to take 6 weeks for it to kick in. And then hopefully it does kick in. You don't want to be selling a product that doesn't deliver on what it's supposed to deliver on. So hopefully it does actually kick in and you really start to feel that. Okay, let's go into a PDP. And then I realize we are spending a good amount of time on this. So I want to get through to the next website. Okay, so we get to the PDP. What do I notice right away? Well, right away, they've got, so I'm looking on the desktop first, but maybe I should look on the mobile first. So I'm going to pull up mobile. So you pull it up right away. You've got this nice kind of header or notification bar and header bar where the logo is, nice and compactly sized, right? Then below that, you've got the daily basic stack. You've got the clinician's choice badge. Underneath that, you've got 5-star rating with 4 reviews. I would probably switch this up a little bit. Something I've seen Caraway do is they take their total product reviews and usually put it on PDPs just to kind of add to, hey, 50,000 plus ratings. These guys have 30,000 plus. So even though this product or this bundle, the daily basic stack, only has 4 reviews, it looks like, they should still talk about the 30,000 plus reviews that they have. The other thing I notice is the initial PDP carousel image is pretty much blank outside of the 3 bottles. So you've got 2 capsules kind of rendered in front of a rendered bottle, which is fine. But there's all this white space above and below, which I think we can use to put some of those nice icons, whether they're animated or not. We've also got the next few images are, focused on 3 different products. Again, the 3 different products are not in order. It's just kind of like randomly put together with supplement facts, kind of like a mini poster promo per one of the 3 products. And then like maybe mini infographic per product as well. So you got basically like 9 or 10 images here. Ingredients and benefits. I like that the ingredients is written out and clickable, and as is benefits, but this is a supplement brand. This is also a pretty high price supplement brand. I would make those individual pop-ups or slide outs from the right, kind of like a cart where you could see it. You've got a little description here, which is pretty dense in terms of a paragraph. I'd maybe turn those into icons, but then you've got this nice low stock few left call out. The subscribe and save toggle is really nice. I like that it's a toggle. It feels native to, assuming most people are probably on an iPhone, feels native to the iPhone. Most Androids use toggle too, so it just feels native to a mobile user in general. And then you've got the save 33% call out. You've got update, pause, or cancel anytime call out. You got free gifts valued at 55 call out. The free gifts has a little eye icon where if you click it, you can actually see pictures of the stainless steel bottle, the tote bag, the frother, and I think those are cool. They also have a little call out module below the actual thing. So I would just probably design that module that's already there, just make it slightly bigger and just explain how the 3 free gifts work all together so nobody has to click to see that, just because I am a fan of reducing the number of clicks. If you scroll down, then you've got your add to cart, your free shipping, your money back guarantee, HSA, FSA eligible, which hopefully they're using TrueMed for that. And then right below that, you've got Light Labs, where it's been tested. It calls out, it was last tested in January, it approves all the tests. It's got a signature from a lab director. So just looks really good. Why the daily basic stack works better. I love this. I'm always a fan of adding this why section on websites, PDPs, specifically PDPs on landing pages. But they could also work nicely on collections pages if you can speak directly to that collection versus just generally the supplements you sell in general or the products you sell. And then they've got this nice chart. I think these guys just do a really good job with their PDP and just adding a bunch of modules of content in there. So they've got this infographic which talks about increase in bioavailability and then increase in absorption. And then they've got the month 1, month 2, month 3 call outs. Although the only thing I would change is it's not obvious you can click through month 1, 2, and 3. So I would probably make it a little more obvious that you can click those. Either by adding 3 little dots below the check mark so you can see that there's 3 pages or 3 things to scroll through, or somehow make it noticeable that you can click month 2 or month 3, or maybe your CTA below that is just like, or it's like a little right and left arrow that looks very clickable and desirable to click. Then you've got your classic, what it pairs well with, your FAQ, your footer. So overall, I think it's a great site. Empty cart state looks nice too. There's a free shipping threshold at the top. You have your notification bar, which calls out the discount on subscription. You've got an empty cart with, basically pushing the products that I believe have, the most sell through. So Calm, the Essentials Pack, the Restore product. And let's see, if you add something to cart as a one-time purchase, let's see what happens. Basically, calls out one-time purchase. I would maybe make that button change from saying one-time purchase to, make it look like a desirable button that says subscribe and save 30% or whatever that discount is. There's also no upsells in the cart. I'm not sure if that's maybe a mistake because there were upsells before. And then in the quantity selector, it's also a drop down. I'd probably just change that to plus or minus, or, create some kind of offer there. Add a second one for 30% off or whatever it may be. Let me put you onto something if TV has felt too hard. Roku Ads Manager is a self-service connected TV platform. You can build campaigns within minutes, optimize them inside the platform, and keep billing simple. It's built for growth and D2C advertisers who want a low barrier to entry and no big commitments. If you want to get on the big screen without old school processes, go to advertising.roku.com/limited supply. All right, we're going to finish off with that, and I'm just going to do a quick time check. So because we have a time check here, I am going to go and move over to 2 brands that I came across. I don't even know how I came across these, to be honest. It might have been from like an advertorial, because those are typically where I find, these like very performance marketing type of brands. So I'm just double checking that I believe what's happening here. So this brand, really interesting. So this company has 884.2K monthly visitors on their website. So I usually find that this is data taken from SimilarWeb, which is an overpriced tool that unfortunately doesn't have any better pricing options. SimilarWeb, if you're listening to this, change your pricing or sponsor me, please. I cannot afford to pay the paid version of it because it's so expensive. But I find that SimilarWeb is usually 20 to 30% lower than what the actuals are. So let's call it 1 million page views a month divided by 30 days. So we're talking about 33,000 people hitting this site on a daily basis at a pretty conservative number, I would say. So the brand is called Pulsetto Tech. Pulsetto.tech is the name of the brand. And their website is, that's actually their website, Pulsetto.tech. Looks like the brand name is called Pulsetto. But what's interesting about Pulsetto is if you try to go to their homepage, it's going to redirect you to a landing page, which is called Fit Light, which I imagine is, I think, one of the variations of their product. And so let's see here. So you get there, it's got about 1 million page views. It's primarily built for mobile traffic, which makes sense because, if you're driving 1 million page views, most of these people are most likely coming from mobile. They're not going to be coming just from desktop. But what's really interesting is the website is almost built kind of like a VSL. So you've got this basic PDP, landing page. It's got, headline at the top. It's got a bunch of it's got a bunch of text. It's got a paragraph. It's got some bolded text. It's got a bright blue, green flashing, older Pulsetto Now button. And then right below that, you've got social proof. To the right of it, you've got this video with the play button on it. And it's not one of those YouTube or like fancy looking. It looks like a nice VSL player play button. Blue, blocky square with a white, sideways triangle for you to hit play. And then right below that, we've got some nice iconography. We've got 100,000 plus happy customers, 20,000 plus 5-star reviews, 30-day money-back guarantee, and then 86% of users feel less stressed and feel calmer. Now, what's interesting about the icons here, I did talk about the icons for a second from, just now, but these icons are very descriptive. The 100,000 happy customers, you see 3 people icons with stars above their head. The 20,000 5-star reviews, you see 5 stars with a finger clicking the 4th star, and the 4th star's got like 2 little spikes coming out to look like it was just clicked. 30-day money-back guarantee is like a big dollar sign with like a circle around it with an arrow. And then 86% of users, the icon is an 86% with a big circle around it. So again, what's cool is like they make these icons more descriptive. And a lot of times in this podcast, I talk about just making things 1% better. That's how you make it 1% better. Like your 4 benefits in the bar below your hero section are very descriptive. And then the icons, the visual icons next to them, which again, we know that people skim right through this, right? So the easier you can communicate, the better it is for your website. But I would bet if you ran a split test with these icons, this would increase your revenue per session, simply because of just the fact that these icons are more descriptive. Now we go to the next couple sections. So next section is a little bit just kind of like chill. Then you go to this number 1 doctor recommended vagus nerve stimulator. You've got a doctor here. It says big chunk, doctor approved. This is basically like an advertorial style page, right? Like you go hero, you go social proof, you go these icons, you go into a doctor thing. You have a nice chunk on how it works. You go into calm your mind, relieve stress and overwhelm in seconds. Then you've got get the deep restorative sleep you've been missing. This is a very benefits-driven landing page or advertorial page. And then you've got this 5 relief settings you can choose from. Like overall, this thing is just, and then you've got this beautiful comparison chart that uses imagery, kind of featuring it up against its competitors, and then icons. So not only does it say yes or no or calls out the price, right? But it also has these big checks or X's. And the check is that emoji of the green check, and the X's is the red green emoji. So again, it's kind of like speaking to that familiarity that somebody might have. And then it goes into, boost digestion, improves focus, relieve burnout, relax your mind, all with one device. It's just like nonstop hitting all the things that you're going to want. And then it goes into some customer reviews. It says over 100,000 people have found relief with Pulsetto. Now, whenever it comes to these like direct response advertorial sites with this much traffic, I am a little skeptical. Like, are they actually doing this? It seems like they do have. They must have 100,000 people who are using the product with this much traffic. But what would I do here with the reviews section? Hopefully, by the way, you're going through all of these and checking it out as I'm going through it. But in this review section, like I would probably just call out, I would probably feature certain reviews. I would categorize or segment out reviews based on what the review is about. So is it about sleep? Is it about anxiousness? Is it about whatever it may be? And I would probably let you read and organize the reviews based on all of that. But overall, like I love how they've got just so much content here to read. They're trying to push a bundle basically. And so anyways, when you get down to the bottom, you've got 2 options to buy. Now, this is what I think is really interesting. You've got Pulsetto Lite, and then you've got Pulsetto Fit. And Pulsetto Fit calls out that it's best comfort, longer battery, new premium model. It's $251 versus the Pulsetto Lite is only $242. So they specifically chose $242 and $251. It's not even a $10 difference. So as you're going through this, in your mind, you're obviously going to think, well, why wouldn't I spend an extra $9? I basically get the app, I get their, it looks like a gel or something that comes with it, the cable, and then a more premium unit, and it looks like 2 other tools that you get with it. then right below that is again a comparison chart. But remember how we've always talked about having multiple comparison charts? Well, this comparison chart features the Pulsetto Lite against the Pulsetto Fit. So you get to really understand between checks and X's which one you should go through. And then the last thing I'll say I like on this homepage or this kind of like landing page is at the very bottom, it calls out the money back guarantee. And then it's got American Express, Discover, MasterCard, Visa, PayPal, Google Pay, a big lock icon. And then to the right of that, powered by Stripe. This is just like, this just massages my brain in all the right ways. Now, the other thing that massages my brain is when you click buy now, it takes you down to another module that just appeared out of nowhere. And it asks you, do you want to get 67% off Pulsetto App Premium? Now, Pulsetto App Premium comes with a whole other list of benefits. You know, you get a CNS tap test, you get AI care chat, you get 20 guided meditations. Now, let's just say I was sold on that, right? I'm going to click add to order. And then I get another pop-up. It says get 33% off the travel case. So instead of $49, you get it for $33. Now, why is this great? Because it says 33%, the price comes out to $33. That's not a mistake, guys. That's a mental, that's a genius psychological trick to just make you kind of scan over it and think you already read it so you don't have to read it again, right? So the big things you see is get 33% off in big orange title case text, and then $49 value in big red crossed out text, and then a green button that says add to order. So I'm going to click add to order because I'm sure their take rate's high. So then you get to the actual cart and checkout, and now you've got Pulsetto App Premium, free trial, cancel anytime. Why is that great? Because that's a free trial going into, oh, actually that is just a free trial. Then the next thing is is a travel case, which actually says 35 instead of 33. So 35 is actually false. I think they can get in a ton of trouble for that. That's false advertising. They were just advertising 33, but it's 35. You've got the app premium for 12 months at 79, and then you got Pulsetto Vagus nerve stimulation device, which is all in lowercase, listed in the checkout here. So I would not recommend for 241. Overall, very interesting flow. Not a fan of the price mismatch. I imagine that leads to like a bunch of people dropping off. They are also charging $5.99 for shipping when the subtotal is $355. That's probably really stupid. That's going to cause a lot of dropouts there. And but overall, that's pretty much it. So that's Pulsetto, and we can do the other one real quick too, because I think it's really interesting. So go over to bioma.health is the domain. And if you get to the website, you're going to get to their homepage, which is just bioma.health. I have it pulled up here. It looks a little bit like Thorn or Thesis supplements, Take Thesis, in the sense that they've got this like crispy white or off-white background with like, very crispy black text laid on top of it, nicely segmented between font styles, bolded, sizing, etc. And when you get to the homepage, it's kind of hard to get to PDPs. Like you can really just look at the individual products. You can either click order now or show ingredients, which I think is interesting. Show ingredients here is something I haven't seen before, but I kind of like how it functions. It basically drops down a little bit, adds a little bit more height to the container of that module, and then shows you what are the top ingredients there. It looks like they use a lot of branded ingredients, so it's kind of easier to get past that. And then the dosage in there. Now, what I thought was interesting was if you click the images or the titles, you don't get to the PDPs. And that's usually different than most websites because you can still click through to different, like they have this big find the formula section, which we'll get to in a second. And then they've got basically like this if you click shop now, it just takes you down to the module where you can again look at the carousel. So let's break this down. So you've got this take the quiz option right at the top in your hero, or shop now, which just takes you there. We've already now established you can't really get to like a PDP right now. The only way I found you could kind of get to a PDP is up at the top under the product section. If you click into like, better hair, skin, and nails, then it takes you to individual, almost like individual mini collections, but they're really just landing pages. So like the hair, skin, and nails takes you to, almost like a listicle advertorial. If you click weight loss, it takes you to basically a landing page that is pushing you toward a quiz. If you click the night metabolism and sleep, it takes you to a landing page or like a collections page where you're basically choosing between 1, 2, or 3 bottles of the individual product. So it looks like these are really just like individual product funnels, which I'm not against by any means. I do think it's weird you can't get to like a PDP, because I think consumers nowadays do want to see PDP, but also like, who am I to speak when they've got 1.7 million page views per month? Now, granted, I don't think majority, maybe 90% of these page views are ever hitting the home page. But one thing I want to talk about before I get to the page that I think they're all hitting is this quiz section. So on the homepage, below the, it says benefits of our ingredients are covered in, and it's got Harvard, Stanford, Women's Health, Healthline. Interesting kind of positioning there, because it's just like, hey, if we have ashwagandha, these are all the places that have talked about ashwagandha. It's not really like anything that strong to stand on. But again, I could be corrected. I could be the idiot here, because they have 1.7 million page views per month here. Maybe this is just a sneaky way to get by without having to, you know what I mean? Like, it's legal to do. It's kind of like saying up to 8x, even though every product might not be 8x. But anyways, below that section, you've got the find the formula your body needs. And these are essentially all going to like these quiz style landers. So if you click through on really any of them, you basically go to this templated page. And the way that I found this brand is, I think it was the weight loss page. Yeah, it was the weight loss page. So essentially bioma.health/weight-loss-short is one of the pages that I kept finding. And on the homepage, if you click the weight loss quiz button in that quiz module, it'll take you to the same page. So you can kind of see what it is. But it's basically this massive headline up top. You've got 3 bullet points with checks. You've got a customer testimonial. You've got the clinician's choice. And then you choose male or female. Now, male or female, why do I like that as your first question? Because I like quizzes that, they're basically just going to sell you one product, and they're either going to recommend that you stack it with another thing, or you have multiple bottles of the same product. So I think it's interesting that they've got this quiz here, because, what I learned from the best telemedicine or supplement or, contacts brands is you really want like a short-ish quiz, maybe 5 to 10 questions. You want them to be questions that people can answer, obviously. So, want to wake up with, less brain fog? Do you want to wake up in a way where once you wake up, you don't hit snooze? Do you want to feel more accomplished by the time you sleep? Whatever it may be, I'm just making these random questions up. But like, these are the type of questions that, do you want your dog to have a shinier coat? That's like one I've seen with the pet food companies. But what's interesting is they just ask very obvious questions. And then as you go through it, you're basically just like answering these questions. And the best quizzes have, just like this one is actually 19 questions, which is quite a bit. And I'm just going through it now to see like what they actually get to at the end. But basically they ask you a couple of questions, and then between every 5 or 6 questions, they kind of tell you like, all right, hey, you're on the right track, or we think you're best for this product. And so now I'm just going through this. So I'm just making up like different numbers. Then it's going to show me this page, which is standard for like a final quiz page that we've seen with like Octane, where it shows you, something is loading. And now it's going to ask us to put our email in, which is always a great way. So it starts to tell me, okay, now it's teaching me, hey, based on this, your metabolic age is this, your fat burning rate is really low. I just put random numbers in. So it thinks I'm 55, 5'5", and 200 pounds. Then it tells you like your metabolism is slow. And then it tells you, all right, well, your best product is this. Why? Because it boosts your own unique gut composition. It includes prebiotics, postbiotics, and probiotics. Comes in a dark glass bottle to protect the ingredients. And then you hit continue. It tells you how to take it, which I think is interesting, because, you're kind of like being educated on why you should be taking this before you even get to the page where you're being told to take the product. And then what's interesting is, so at the top, there's like this little tracker, almost like when you're scrolling through 5 or 6 different images or things in a carousel, you can see that little tracker, like the progress being made. And what they've done here is, as soon as they started showing you the product, it just shows that you're at the last screen on this tracker. So you're clicking through and it just keeps showing you're at the last screen. Now, what's interesting is after you hit the last continue, what it does is it takes you to the same page as if you were on the home page, but then clicking order now. So it takes you to that same page where it's basically a landing page. It's got a coupon code up top that includes the email I put. So the email I listed in, I wanted to list an email I haven't used in years. So I put entrepreneurnick@gmail.com. Don't make fun of me. I made that when I was in 9th grade. So then and today's February 16th, I'm recording this episode. And so it says my coupon code to copy is entrepreneurnick-feb16. And then it has a check mark to the right, assuming that it's basically telling me it's already copied and already applied. At the top, it says your special promo code is applied. And then right above the check mark, it's got a countdown going of 23, basically down from 24 hours. So what they've probably realized is that most of their customers make a purchase, like call it, 70% maybe, who get to the stage, maybe go ahead and make that purchase within 24 hours. So instead of putting a timer for 2 hours and trying to pressure somebody, they know that if it's not going to be this, well, they've got my email. They're probably going to hit me with discounts, and I'm curious to see what those discounts are. Then right below that, they've got the subscribe versus one-time toggle. They've got a price anchor on the middle one. Most popular, save 30%, plus free gift, 90 daily servings, $1.18 per day, 3 bottles delivered, versus the other ones are like 6 bottles delivered, slightly cheaper, 87 cents a day. The other one is 30 daily servings, so just 1 bottle, and that's $1.60. And then you scroll down, you got a little bit of it tells you again, it looks like it almost vibe coded this mini chart based on the data I put. So I think I put that I was 200 pounds and 5'5", which is not the case. And I'm trying to get to 170. So it shows me a graph saying with Bioma, day 60, you'll get to 170, which is crazy because that's so not true. That's basically saying 15 pounds a month off of a random probiotic supplement. Makes no sense. And then it says, based on your data, we recommend a 3-month plan and a 6-month plan. So again, it's like trying to lock you in with the 3-month or 6-month, the 3-month being the 90-day supply, which is again, reassuring or reinforcing their push initially in the section above to get a 3-month or a 90-day supply. Now, after all that, you hit Get Bioma Now or Order Now. It takes you to a special cart, which appears to not be a Shopify cart. Yeah, it looks like this is just React. They've got all their normal pixels on there, and you kind of go through the checkout, and that's about it. What I do like, though, is that the discount is called out in red, so all the previous prices or prior prices are called out in red and crossed out. The updated price is in green, whether it's free or just, calls out free shipping, like instead of $15.99, calls out the bottle prices, the weight loss guide, the secret gift, all that is free. And it basically shows you that, hey, you're saving $45.39, which is kind of cool. The last thing that I like here is, remember how I just put my email in the quiz, and then it updated the code to that, and then I hit checkout? Well, it already has my email pre-filled out in checkout, which I think is awesome. So check out both of those last 2 sites I just talked about. Those are like those sites, and then advertorials, whether they're advertorials on like Business Insider, where the entire business is affiliate content, or just any other sort of like very direct response advertorial. These are like the places I like to get inspiration, and you can kind of hear my voice just getting super excited through going through some of these things. So yeah, that's the episode for today. It was a part 2 to last week. If you didn't get a chance to listen to last week's, I do recommend you go give it a listen. I feel like some of the things that I call out in these podcast episodes, going through pages, sometimes I call things out more, or call out other things that I don't otherwise see when I'm doing it as a newsletter maybe, and feel like I'm typing out the thoughts there. So give that a listen. And yeah, I'll see you next week. Next week, I plan to get a little more tactical. I've been doing a lot of these sessions with people where I'm like literally helping them build advertorial sites or just build different things, go through different AI workflows or creating AI workflows. I've been using a lot of Claude, a lot of Manus, not so much Chat GPT as before, a little bit of Figma AI, not too much. I'm a little not skeptical, but just like not a huge fan of using a bunch of AI design tools yet, only because sometimes it does come off like vibe coded or vibe design looked or that look. I'm just not a fan of that. I think it looks lazy, and you know me, I'm all about very, 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 very high quality design. I think it's the biggest contributor to building that brand perception or brand equity or brand identity, especially as you're in the earlier stages of your brand. But yeah, stay tuned for that. Come back next week. It's going to be another banger of an episode. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week. Finish it off strong. It was a shorter week. Today I'm recording this on Monday because it's President's Day and a lot of people have the day off, so my day is just generally quieter. But hey, I hope you have a great rest of your week. Have an amazing weekend. Be on the lookout for that newsletter this Sunday. If you're not already subscribed, go to nick.co/email, nik.co/email, and that'll hit your inbox at 7:15 Eastern. Read it on your couch, on your armchair, on your lounge chair, with your feet up, with a drink in your hand. And I'll see you next week. Have a great week.